Alleviate. To alleviate pain or suffering means to make it less intense or severe.
She needed something to alleviate the pain in her back.
Astrology. Astrology is the study of the stars in the belief that they influence people's lives.
Jack, who studies astrology, believes that the stars can predict the future.
Differentiate. To differentiate things or people is to show the difference between them.
It was hard to differentiate between the identical twins.
Disrupt. To disrupt something or someone is to prevent them from working.
The loud crash disrupted the class lecture.
Equation. An equation is a math operation to determine the value of something.
I used the Pythagorean theorem to solve the equation.
Err. To err means to make a mistake.
The pilot erred in his estimate of the time it would take to make the trip.
Erroneous. When something is erroneous, it is incorrect or only partly correct.
The child held the erroneous belief that time machines were real.
Frantic. If people or things are frantic, they behave in a wild way because they are frightened.
The cat became frantic when I tried to give it a bath.
Hull. The hull of a boat or tank is the main body of it.
After the wreck at sea, the ship's hull was the last part to sink.
Inadvertent. When an action is inadvertent, it is done without realizing what you are doing.
She made an inadvertent error when she knocked over the nail polish.
Improvise. To improvise something is to do it with whatever is available or without planning.
There was no meat for the pizza, so we improvised with what was in the fridge.
Latitude. The latitude of a place is its distance from the equator.
The device was able to tell the traveler his exact latitude.
Mariner. A mariner is a sailor.
The old mariner used his telescope to find the shore.
Multitude. A multitude of things or people is a very large number of them.
A multitude of people were waiting at the airport.
Nuisance. A nuisance is a person or thing that is annoying or causes a lot of problems.
The teenager considered her nosy little brothers to be quite a nuisance.
Permanence. The permanence of something is its ability to last forever.
Poor results will threaten the permanence of the new teaching system.
Revolve. To revolve around something is to keep it as the main feature or focus.
My life revolves around sports.
Soothe. To soothe means to calm someone who is angry or upset.
The mother soothed her crying baby by rocking him in her arms.
Stranded. If someone is stranded, they are prevented from leaving a place.
When the plane left, my sister and I were stranded in China.
Volatile. When something is volatile, it is likely to change suddenly and unexpectedly.
The volatile volcano might explode at any moment.
Arduous. When something is arduous, it demands great effort or labor.
The explorers began their arduous hike up the steep mountain.
Attain. To attain something means to gain or achieve it, often after a lot of effort.
In 2 more years, I will attain my high school diploma.
Coexist. To coexist with something means to exist with it in the same time and place.
Our pets coexist at our home with little or no problems.
Conceive. To conceive something means to be able to imagine or believe it.
The child could not conceive the actual size of the earth.
Dubious. When something or someone is dubious, they are not considered honest.
The police thought that the man's description of the crime was dubious.
Ego. An ego is a person's sense of their own worth.
Kelly's ego made her think that she was some kind of a superhero.
Elastic. Elastic is a rubber that stretches when it is pulled.
He attached the elastic bungee to his legs before he jumped off the platform.
Endeavor. An endeavor is an attempt to do something, especially something new or original.
The company's new advertising endeavor ended in a horrible failure.
Engrave. To engrave means to cut a design or words into the surface of something.
The couple engraved their names onto the old pine tree.
Excavate. To excavate means to dig on land and remove dirt to look for something.
The team wishes to excavate the site in hopes of finding fossils.
Jagged. When something is jagged, it has a tough, uneven shape or edge.
The swimmer was hurt when he fell onto the jagged rocks.
Locale. A locale is a small area or place where something specific happens.
The spa was the perfect locale for my mother to relax and enjoy her vacation.
Mold. A mold is a hollow container that is used to make certain shapes.
Using a cupcake mold will ensure that they come out just right.
Outright. When something is outright, it is open and direct.
Everyone knew that the boy's story was an outright lie.
Periphery. The periphery of an area, place, or thing is the edge of it.
A beautiful floral pattern is on the periphery of the stationery.
Plaster. Plaster is a smooth paste that gets hard when it dries.
He used plaster to fill in the cracks in the old walls.
Shovel. A shovel is a tool with a long handle that is used for digging.
The boy grabbed his shovel and got all of the snow off of the sidewalk.
Skeletal. When something is skeletal, it relates to bones in the body.
We studied the skeletal system in anatomy class.
Terrestrial. If something is terrestrial, it relates to Earth.
There are billions of terrestrial life forms.
Vicious. When something or someone is vicious, they are violent and cruel.
The vicious dog tried to bite the small child.
Absurd. If something or someone is absurd, they are ridiculous.
That group of people making animal noises sounds completely absurd.
Anemia. Anemia is a blood condition that causes a person to be pale and tired.
When she first developed anemia, she became tired often.
Aristocracy. The aristocracy is the highest class of people in certain societies.
Most members of the aristocracy were very well fed.
Aristocrat. An aristocrat is a person who is of the highest class in certain societies.
The aristocrat did not need a job because his family was wealthy.
Attire. Attire is nice or special clothing.
Everyone wore their best attire to the president's daughter's wedding.
Craze. A craze is a brief and popular activity or object.
Wearing bright red socks was a craze when I was in high school.
Enlarge. To enlarge something means to make it bigger.
The classrooms were enlarged over the summer to make room for more students.
Excess. An excess is an amount of something that is more than needed or wanted.
Because it never got cold that winter, many stores had an excess of coats.
Feminine. If something is feminine, then it has qualities that are commonly related to women.
Many of the older people thought his long hair made him look too feminine.
Hallmark. A hallmark is a unique characteristic of something.
Different types of pasta and tomato sauces are hallmarks of Italian food.
Pad. A pad is a thick piece of soft material used to protect or clean things.
Football players wear shoulder pads to keep them safe.
Predominant. If something is predominant, then it is the most important, common, or strongest.
Before cars were invented, horses were the predominant method of travel.
Reputable. If someone or something is reputable, then they have a good reputation.
The service from the less than reputable company made her angry.
Rouge. Rouge is a red powder or cream used as makeup on the cheeks or lips.
Even when she didn't wear rouge, her cheeks appeared red.
Signify. To signify means to be a symbol of something.
A red octagon is used to signify to stop.
Strap. A strap is a thin, long piece of fabric used to fasten, carry, or hold something.
She put the strap of her purse over her shoulder and walked out of the door.
Tangle. A tangle is something or many things twisted together.
The laces of his shoes were in such a tangle that he could not untie them.
Vanity. Vanity is excessive pride or love of one's own appearance or things one has done.
Her vanity won't allow her to pass a mirror without looking at herself.
Vie. To vie for something means to compete against others for it.
The three boys vied for the prize in the chemistry contest.
Vulgar. If something or someone is vulgar, then they are rude or lacking in style.
Her vulgar behavior got her into trouble with her parents.
Attic. An attic is a room just below a house's roof.
There were 2 windows in their attic.
Chunk. A chunk is a thick, solid piece of something.
When they broke open the rock, they saw it was filled with chunks of gold.
Civic. If something is civic, then it is related to a town or city, especially its government.
Most of the important civic buildings are located downtown.
Descent. A descent is a movement downwards.
During the space shuttle's descent, the Earth became larger and larger.
Din. A din is loud, unpleasant, and extended noise.
The din of the rusty machinery made the factory a horrible place to work.
Dissatisfy. To dissatisfy someone means to fail to please them.
He was dissatisfied with his meal.
Fuss. A fuss is excited or annoyed behavior that is not useful in any way.
The child made an awful fuss because she didn't want to go to bed.
Gourmet. If food is gourmet, then it is nicer and more expensive than regular food.
In order to get a gourmet meal, you have to eat at an expensive restaurant.
Hence. If something happens hence, then it happens as a result of something.
John forgot the key, hence we couldn't open the door.
Intrinsic. If something is intrinsic, then it is related to the basic nature of that thing.
Paper money has no intrinsic value. It is useful simply because society says it is.
Kettle. A kettle is a large metal pot used for boiling liquids or cooking food.
The soup was being cooked in a large kettle.
Ministry. A ministry is a government department.
The Ministry of Trade is responsible for taxing imports and exports.
Ordeal. An ordeal is a bad experience.
Driving in the snowstorm was an ordeal she'd never forget.
Outspoken. If someone is outspoken, then they are not afraid to say what they think.
She was an outspoken critic about the new banking laws.
Overwork. To overwork someone means to make them tired with too much work.
After working for 3 weeks with only 1 day of rest, Judy was overworked.
Particular. If something is particular, then it is a single, important part of a group of things.
The dress shop didn't have the particular dress she was looking for.
Pungent. If something is pungent, then it tastes or smells strong and sharp.
The garlic made the soup taste so pungent that the chef wouldn't serve it.
Snore. To snore means to make a loud noise each time a sleeping person breathes.
It was impossible to get to sleep because my husband snored.
Soundly. If something is done soundly, then it is done in the best or most complete way.
The nearest opponent was 10 meters behind. She won the race soundly.
Superintendent. A superintendent is a person who runs a certain department or building.
The superintendent decided to close the schools because of the weather.
Alternate. To alternate means to switch back and forth between two things.
The best exercise alternates muscle and heart strengthening.
Apologetic. If someone is apologetic, they are sorry about something.
The boy felt apologetic after losing his sister's favorite toy.
Benign. If something or someone is benign, they do not hurt anyone.
Many spiders look scary, but most are actually benign.
Char. To char means to burn something so that it turns black.
While Frank went inside to get the mustard, he accidentally charred the hot dogs.
Clarify. To clarify means to make something easier to understand by explaining it.
Drew tried to clarify all the functions of Michelle's new computer.
Distress. Distress is the feeling of being upset or worried.
Failing a class caused the student a lot of distress.
Dogged. When someone's actions are dogged, they try hard to continue something.
Her dad bought her a new jacket after her dogged request for one.
Ensue. To ensue means to happen after something.
After a few minutes of lightning, thunder ensued.
Gasp. To gasp means to make a noise by quickly breathing in when surprised.
John always gasps when watching a scary movie.
Negotiate. To negotiate means to try to make an agreement through discussion.
Mario and Joe took a long time negotiating the contract between the companies.
Overdose. An overdose is an instance of taking or having too much of something.
John's skin was burned from an overdose of sunshine.
Persuasion. Persuasion is the act of making someone do or believe something.
The persuasion of his argument convinced the customer to buy the laptop.
Relay. A relay is a race in which teams of runners or swimmers race against each other.
Jerry was the fastest on his team, so he ran the last part of the relay.
Reluctance. Reluctance is a feeling of not wanting to do something.
Jesse took out the trash with great reluctance.
Restate. To restate something means to say it again or in a different way.
Mrs. Jones restated the test question to the class.
Sesame. Sesame is an herb that is grown for its small seeds and its oil.
I used the buns with the sesame seeds on them.
Sip. To sip something means to drink a small amount at a time.
Liza relaxed on the beach, sipping fruit juice through a straw.
Verge. The verge is the point at which something is about to happen.
Joan was on the verge of leaving her house when the phone rang.
Wary. If someone is wary, they are cautious or mistrusting.
She was wary of going to school because she hadn't done her homework.
Waver. To waver is to be unable to decide between two choices.
I wavered between eating the apple or the cake for a snack.